Hello. I hope everyone's well lunched. So it's actually a real pleasure to be here at this particular conference today. The first conference I went to was the World Blockchain Forum in London. And that's where we realized we didn't really know everything we thought we knew. And it led us to going to Gibraltar and looking at regulation, all sorts of exciting things. And we've also been working quite a lot in Dubai, so with Hasib, who some of you may know, there he is. So World Blockchain Forum in Dubai is a really great gig for us, and we're very, very pleased to be here. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about crowdfunding, because crowdfunding really is the way that most businesses are going to get funded. It's already a huge market, so these are actually relatively old figures, but if you look at just the growth in that market, in the context of the next slide, where crowdfunding is already hitting around 64 billion against VC funding, which is around 84. So this is a huge thing. It really is about how startups get funded, how people access funding for their own small businesses. It's about how people move forward. But it's not entirely a great industry just yet. So the first thing is it's very expensive. It's an expensive thing to do. This is just the part of the expense. This is just the platform fees. Actually, to get onto the platform and to do a successful raise is an incredibly expensive thing to do. By the time you've built traction, you've looked at trying to build the early stage of your business before you've really been able to raise any funds at all. The other thing is it's quite exclusive. So if you consider a Kickstarter for a start, actually only operates in about 22 countries. It's not quite the global phenomenon that we hoped it would be. So it's an expensive and exclusive thing to do. And actually they only accept a relatively small percentage of applications. And why is that? Why isn't it in their interest to accept everyone? It's because they're not crowdfunded themselves. So crowdfunding platforms are not crowdfunded. They're funded by equity. And what does that mean? It means you've got to concede. It means the investors need returns, the platforms need profits, so they really just focus on the things that are going to make them money. So they're not there for you, they're there for themselves, and fair enough. That's what private equity is all about. So founders with great ideas face high fees, they face a low chance of acceptance, they face high setup costs. This isn't where we want to be. This isn't what crowdfunding was supposed to be about. So we want to change crowdfunding by crowdfunding it. It's a simple idea. But it's a disruptive idea as well. So by crowdfunding, we can disrupt it in the same way that Amazon disrupted retail. And that's because at the moment, traditional crowdfunding, I wonder if I got the laser thing going. No. At the moment, crowdfunding operates in the same way as old retail did. It focuses on that really narrow band of really expensive projects. So huge marketing costs, you've got to pay a lot to get on there, you've got to be that sort of over-marketed, very expensive thing to do. But there is a long tail in crowdfunding. It's the community projects. It's the small businesses that want to service a particular area. It's people who want to run campaigns for for different interests. It's that huge long tail of crowdfunding that never goes to zero in the same way that retail never went to zero. And Amazon, by basically saying, well, that's fine, we know there'll always be an interest in this, so we want to serve that too. We want to serve the smaller projects, we want to serve the big projects, we want to serve everybody, was a disruptive idea that completely changed the way that retail happened. So with crowdfunding, which we've just seen is the main way that the businesses are going to get, startups are going to get funded within the next year or two, is a similar environment at the moment. It's too expensive, it's too exclusive, it's too small. The platforms don't think big enough. And so we want to change it. And it's a disruptive thought. So the platform, firstly, is going to be free for any legal project in any country. We're not going to exclude developing countries. In fact, that's where a lot of the growth is. But that's not the whole story. It's also the failure rates in crowdfunding are far too high. So it's about 21% actually, the chance that you've got of taking a crowdfund from idea right the way through to funding and success. Most projects fail to raise. In this brilliant slide, I've decided to take some figures that nobody can see. But I can tell you that these figures basically are the successfully funded. They don't really go much beyond 20%. So that's crowdfunder, fundraiser, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, and Rocket Hub. So some relatively big platforms with very little success on them, really. Projects can fail post-raise too. So if you do manage to get your crowd raise funded, about 9% of them fail. And this is against, by the way, 66% failing on aggregate on the previous side. So that amounts to about 21% that actually do it, which, given the importance of crowdfunding, is pretty poor. There's been very little actual innovation in crowdfunding in years. If you think about Kickstarter and Indiegogo, massively exciting things when they first came out, there have been very, very few innovations in crowdfunding since then. So here's us. We're focusing really on three different things. We're focusing on access, success, and transparency. And transparency really built into the success aspect of it. So the first thing is, how do people access the platform? We're building a footprint globally of accelerators, and these are nationally or internationally recognized accelerators and incubator programs that can help businesses. So while we accept any project, we won't always accept any person straight away until they've just started to go through a little bit more training about, do you have the right licenses? Are you a bona fide person? If you're in a country where you can't find ID, which is a huge barrier, can we hook you up with an accelerator who can verify who you are? So simple things about how you can actually access the platform in the first place and actually get a little bit more training about trying to be good at whatever it is you say you're going to do. But whatever it is you say you're going to do is very likely to be something like making a kitchen gadget or a shoe. Or we've got a bunch of projects. With the booth is in the exhibition area, and we can talk to you about some of the projects we've got. It's anything from a honey farm in Tanzania to a bakery and baking school in Ghana to a food project in the US to I think a football academy in Nigeria. There are tons of them, and that's what they're good at. They're not good at crowdfunds. This is where that 66% failure rate comes from. Just in the crowdfunding bit, is these guys aren't good at crowdfunding. They're good at doing what they do, and so they should be. So what we've done after helping access is we're helping success. So we've got a delivery platform that, if you're in business, if you know much about marketing, is essentially a marketing automation platform. So what it does is it allows you to focus on what you're good at, and we'll help you to automate your raise. So we'll help you to post things into Facebook, let's say, build an audience through custom audiences. We can help you grow that audience, all through a really simple UI that really helps to breed success into crowdfunding and to address the fact that 66% of them fail. So on top of trying to build success into the delivery of crowdfunds, we're also trying to help with transparency. So how many backers can you really get to believe in you? Well, probably a lot more if there's a blockchain layer that shows who else is backed. So not just 25% backed, but also let's see these things come in. Let's see who's being trusted. Let's also see how you act in your raise. Let's also see how you act post-raise. Let's deploy the actual raise in milestones, so you have to do what you say you're going to do, so we can reduce that 9% failure rate. We can reduce risk for backers. We can introduce more backer trust into the system. So these types of things essentially help to build an environment where you can have access and support through bona fide accelerators. You can have delivery that bolts into the main ways that the main digital marketing mechanisms that people use. Also, within the marketplace, can you find somebody to do some filming for you locally? Can you find somebody to build your landing page for you or to help you build your website? So trying to build an ecosystem for startups around crowdfunding is what's going to get the job done. Then, can we have a transparency layer that helps build trust between backers and founders, that helps them to have more faith in the project, so it's much, much easier to find a community of people who want to support you. So all of those sorts of things into one ecosystem, it really is a genuine innovation in the way that crowdfunding is done. Of course, this is all fine. So we're going to build ourselves a platform. We're going to make it free to do for anybody in any country. Do we have any hope at all of building any revenue ourselves and keeping the platform alive? Well, yes, we do. So the revenue mechanisms for us typically actually are going to be around data and Acorn support. So the platform that we have here, this delivery platform, that's essentially a SaaS marketing platform. So it works on SaaS revenue generating mechanisms in the same way. So that basically means that we can produce a simple way of being able to have a basic way to access our services, a basic way to build your backer base, but then we've got some premium services within it as well. Interestingly, what this also does for us is it means that we've built an unprecedented amount of data about how people are acting within their raise. We're also partnering with another organization who have data on the last 600,000 crowd raises. So we can actually actively model what people's crowd raises are looking like against people in their similar geography, in a similar industry, doing a similar type of raise. So we can make that sort of information available to them so they can do better. And we can really, in a very, very simple way, just notify them if they're not necessarily hitting their targets against real information. So what this also does is it gives platform data. So looking at the type of people who back different types of projects, where are the communities of people who are interested in a particular type of product? So adding those things together are really powerful revenue mechanisms that will help the platform to survive. And also then we have the platform, the Acorn marketplace, where there are small commissions within that. So basically, what we have is a platform that is completely free to use. It's beginning to mechanize crowdfunding and to improve support for founders. So that's pretty much it. This is us, the team. We are currently running a token sale. If you want to talk to people about that, then we are over in the exhibition stand. So please come and talk to us and help us to make crowdfunding free.